Hello, everyone, and welcome to Left is Law, devoted leftist resistance delivering the daily knowledge you need to be informed and create change. I'm your host, Ryan. Let's break it down. Today, Rex Tillerson was suddenly ousted from his post of Secretary of State, and this came as a surprise to basically everyone who thought that Tillerson and Trump's relationship was just fine. There's probably really one thing that this boils down to above all else, and that is conflict over the Iran deal. The solution for Donald Trump is to put Islamophobic people into power. Yes, we'll get into it. Tillerson was not great, but he was a reasonability check. On every international crisis, he has been the pot on the lid for Donald Trump, and there are not a lot of those in Trump's administration. In the place of the Secretary of State, this is particularly important due to the boiling nature of international relation conflicts. Really briefly, on North Korea, he was the one that was frequently pursuing negotiations while Trump was talking about solving the problem with fire and fury. If anything has come through, I think that Tillerson is at least partially responsible. And for us to have some kind of deal with North Koreans that is meaningful, that can happen, we probably needed someone like Tillerson there who talked in full length about what setting something like this up might look like. And now that is, I don't know, I feel not likely to happen without somebody there who is reasonable. But I want to focus on Iran today. North Korea is for another discussion. On Iran in particular, I think this is where we really run into a problem. Tillerson is pro-Iran deal, and even if we were going to renegotiate the Iran deal, he understands the importance of keeping it. Both of Trump's picks are against this. Before we get into that too deeply, both of Trump's picks are also pro-torture, and that should just be an automatic turnoff for you. So, as the CIA director, Mike Pompeo is being elevated to Secretary of State to take his place, as the CIA director is now Gina Haspel. Everybody's focused on, it's the first woman who was put to the position. Great, but that's not her most important first. Her most important first is running the CIA's first black site. For those of you who don't know what those are, that is places where the CIA takes people, typically like interim, in a country to torture them. Not only was she a huge advocate of torture, but she has also multiple times called for evidence of that torture to be destroyed. One such torture included 83 waterboarding, sleep deprivation, forced nudity, and we of course saw the CIA intelligence report or the Congressional intelligence report on this a few years back, and we have some idea of the extent of just how bad this was. These people should be charged with war crimes. They should not be elevated to our positions of being in charge of things like the CIA. And that brings us also to Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo has also been a longtime advocate of Gitmo and torture. As a representative of the Tea Party when he was running in 2010, he called Democratic candidate Raj Goyal, who is a son of Hindu Indian parents, quote, and this is a direct quotation, "just another turban topper we don't need in Congress or any U.S. political office that deals with the U.S. Constitution, Christianity, and the United States of America." Recognize this. Recognize what is happening in the consolidation of power and of similar thoughts. Islamophobia and racism are getting elevated. The notion that we need to emphasize on Christianity seems to get greater and greater. And people who do not align with this are getting kicked out of governmental positions, and that should be terrifying to you. Again, this comes down to the Iran deal, to get into that now. Both of these people are anti-Iran. And there's a meeting with the Saudis coming up next week, and Netanyahu was just here last week. You can put the pieces together. Netanyahu, of course, being the prime minister of Israel, who, of course, hates Iran and would like to wipe Iran off the face of the planet. Now, you put these two people in who are going to help you rip up that deal and understand that breaking that deal is not good. It's not as if it's somehow going to prevent the development of a nuclear weapon. to tear up the deal. Only the deal has a chance to do that. But what's more important about that is that it represents a diplomatic step for the United States and some kind of diplomatic ties between what is otherwise viewed as Western and Eastern influences butting heads at each other. What will happen once the Iran deal is torn up, whether that happens by Iran, who feels they're being treated unfairly right now, or that happens on our end, which is pretty likely in light of Trump's rhetoric on top of all the people who are anti-Iran that are getting put into office. What's going to happen is that Iran starts building a nuclear weapon again, and then Netanyahu, by whatever means he feels necessary, will absolutely try to do something about Iran wanting to develop a weapon again. It was only really the deal, which of course Netanyahu hates, which has even kind of calmed things down. Netanyahu would love to have a war with Iran. He sees them as threatening, as an enemy of the Jewish state, and what's really scary now, as opposed to when Obama was in office, is Trump and most of the conservative party who has power has backed Netanyahu completely. And that means that if he wants to start a war, he is now emboldened to do so. And actually, that's just the kind of thing Netanyahu needs, because he is also desperate right now. He needs something like a war, something like a distraction, in order to keep his post, because right now, in case you didn't know, he's being investigated for corruption. If that's going to keep him in power, that's only going to happen if there is crisis, because crisis always translates to political power. And every politician who has been in this game for a while knows this and uses crisis in order to continue their power. Netanyahu would believe that anything he's done is justified under the premise of, stopping conflict with the Palestinians. And if it's not the Palestinians who are the threat, then we can make the Iranians out to be a threat. And that will be very easy to do when Iran inevitably starts their weapons program again after this deal gets torn up. And that is horrifying. So it looks like Tillerson is out and trouble is in. What's happening next? I'm not sure. But we're going to find out. And we're going to stay tuned with you. Thanks for tuning in to Left is Law. Have a great day.